Very happy to have on Norm Eisen, chair of State Democracy Defenders Fund, co-founder of Crew, Ethics Watchdog. He worked in the White House. He was ambassador to the Czech Republic. So much more. Norm, you got so many titles. We need more time just to go through your titles. Nice to see you, my friend.
It's, it's just because I can't hold down a job, Dean. But the one job that I keep is friend of your show. Thanks for having me
Thank you.
back.
Thanks, my friend. Well, you're a busy guy. Look, I played two clips of you yesterday on the show, even though you weren't on,
Nice,
from MSNBC,
nice.
because you
Yeah.
had said things that were really important. And let me ask you the big picture here. And by the way,
Yes,
people stick
sir.
on hold. Stick around. We're gonna take a lot of calls. Normally only got about 15 minutes, but we're gonna go back and take our calls after that. Have you ever seen a president in the first 3 weeks that we're living through right now? What we've lived through in the last 3 weeks. Ever seen a president try to tear down the rule of law, the Constitution, the checks and balances like this?
We never had a president who came to office with 34 criminal convictions before. He then kicked things off by pardoning 1,600 insurrectionists, 140 plus of whom had violently assaulted cops. And he went on to attack the FBI and DOJ. So he started with a pro-crime orientation because of his own criminal nature. And then he attacked, that was just the appetizer, Dean. Then he started attacking the rule of law left and right. And I'm litigating all these cases, fair
Yeah, I know.
disclosure. Oh, I don't. The Constitution says that people born here are citizens. Oh no, I say what the Constitution is, not what everybody has always agreed. Pick and choose. The court stopped him. I just got a preliminary injunction in that case. Oh,
That's
I'm
great.
going.
Congratulations.
Oh, the identities of all Americans that are in the Treasury system. I'm going to send a bunch of young hackers from Doge into the Treasury systems to pour over that legally protected information. I got an order in that case. Oh, the FBI, their names are protected by the Privacy Act and the Constitution. Never mind that. I'm going to publish 6,000 FBI agents and personnel who worked on the January 6th case. I got a court order on that. And on and on and on and on. I probably worked on 10 cases. I just filed another one. They got into the Office of Personnel Management. They're pouring over, the Doge is pouring over these records. They have no right to these records. So the story is shock and awe, like never before seen in American history. You can't describe it as a presidency. It's a crime wave. But the flip side of that is that rule of law, the courts, civil society, democracy activists, thousands of people just like me. Fortunately, there's not too many that are just like me, but
Right.
thousands of colleagues have
Out there.
joined in. And the shock and awe of democracy has been greater than Trump's illegalities. And last point, he's complaining about it. He and all his cronies are bitter. So we've come full circle to attacking the law, which is how he started his presidency.
Earlier today, Elon Musk was in the White House because that's what oligarchs do. That's what big donors do. They're in the White House,
Yeah.
and Trump signs an executive order, somehow giving him more power. But they asked Musk, the reporters, about conflicts of interest. And he goes, well, if I
Yeah.
see any, I won't look at it. I won't look into it. And Trump's trying to defend him. What is your take as someone who is an ethics watchdog about what's going on with Elon Musk?
I mean, it's so far beyond. Well, he claims he's being very transparent. Well, give us your financial disclosures. If you're going to be that transparent, what are your
Right.
financial disclosures? Oh, no, those are not public. Well, what conflicts do you have? Have you gotten a waiver or have you been recused? You're not going to work on a case. Oh, no, they won't give you that. Well, the guy is slashing and burning the agencies that are investigating and regulating him. What could be a bigger conflict than that? I mean, you just the only thing you can do in this situation, Dean. It's like my
Mm-hmm.
Prozac. I sue every day. I just dropped this lawsuit literally a few minutes before I got on this show because that makes me feel like I'm sticking up for our democracy and the rule of law. And if I didn't have the ability, and Trump and Trump has come after me. He released a list over the weekend, his 8 adversaries. And frankly, it's ridiculous that I was included. It's like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and Norm Eisen. What am I even doing on that list?
Congratulations.
He must have seen one of my lawsuits right before he made the list.
I've tried to make the list. I just can't make it. I keep missing the cut.
It, man.
Chat with Norm Eisen. I'm chair of the State Democracy Defenders Fund. So your organization is bringing a lot of lawsuits, and you just went through, and I think that's so important. The clip I played of you yesterday with Ana Cabrera was the idea of enforcing these orders.
Yes.
And can you share, how could the court, for example, if Donald Trump or Elon Musk does not comply with the court order, doesn't release funding, or he gets access to areas that he shouldn't be having access, court says you're not supposed to be there and he's doing it, what is the way the court can enforce this?
Well, we already saw a violation of a court order in the Rhode Island case, which has to do with illegal spending freezes. Dean, who gave Donald Trump the power to freeze, and Elon Musk the power to freeze spending? Congress has the power of the purse. Article 1 of the Constitution. And he's got to go to Congress if he wants to cut these programs. The court said this is ridiculous. They enjoined him. And on some of the things he wasn't following, Trump wasn't following. So you go back to court, you get a ruling, and the court said you're violating the ruling. I saw this in the Manhattan criminal case, where Trump violated the court's orders again and again. You turn up the heat. So then you have civil fines if he keeps it up. And then you threaten criminal. That's what stopped him in New York. When the judge called him in and said, I'm putting you in jail if you keep this up. No more violations. But it doesn't stop there. I don't think Congress will tolerate court orders being thwarted. There's a very small balance of power in the House and the Senate. You got the 3 votes against Hedgeseth plus 1 other Republican, and Donald Trump can't move a single nominee or a single bill through the Senate. So that's a break. Handful of votes dividing D's and R's in the House. If a handful of House members flip over a violated court order, and they're grumbling about it now, then you've got the courts can enforce it. You can go from the district court to the appellate court with a mandamus. And ultimately, the safeguard, the press is covering it, so that turns the heat up. And the American people, I don't think the American people will tolerate it. We're already seeing spontaneous demonstrations all over the country. People aren't noticing yet. There were demonstrations all over the country. In fact, last week, I was tickled while we were doing the Treasury court fight to get Elon blocked from coming into Treasury and pawing over these personal records of you and me and every American, financial payments, IRS filings, and other things. While that was going on, there was a spontaneous demonstration in front of the Treasury, hundreds and hundreds of people, and members of Congress came over. So you see that popular energy stirring. And you and I know America's had its challenges and ups and downs. Don't count this country up. When you wake the sleeping giant, ask King George III, ask the Confederacy, ask the losing side in World War I, ask the Axis powers we defeated in World War II, ask the former Soviet Empire we defeated in the Cold War. When you wake the sleeping giant of American democracy, watch out. That's what Donald Trump is doing with this crazy, illegal behavior.
And that's what we hope. So, Norm, the other clip I played of you was talking about to Anna that when you were the ambassador to Czech Republic and people took the streets and they stood up to an autocrat, what is the lesson for us from that experience that you had?
The lesson is that no dictator can withstand the outrage of the public. Sooner or later, every autocracy, when the public wakes up, topples. Now, I talked to Anna about the fact that in Czech Republic in recent years, where you had an autocrat, he was ousted at the ballot box. We have to protect voting. I do not think
Mhm.
Donald Trump is going to be able to prevent voting in some very important upcoming elections in our country. We have the lesson there, Poland, Brazil. The voters will turn the bums out. Now, there's some negative lessons, Hungary, Turkey, where they've been able to take a hold of voting, take a hold of the
Yep.
rule of law. But that's not what's happening in America right now, Dean. The American people are, and together with the courts, some of our political leaders, they're waking up, they're speaking out, and I hope that we're at a crossroads. I can't guarantee it, but I hope it continues.
So do I. I mean, that's what we're all pushing towards that. And earlier in the show, I was talking about there's going to be a time in the near future where more of us are going to have to be in the streets to show the judges that we're there, to show
Yes.
Democrats that we're there. Do you think Democrats, I know you're not a political person per se, you're a lawyer, but is there anything more Democratic members of Congress can be doing to stir up support and inspire people?
Well, uh, yes, that one of the nice, yes, of course. But I will say one of the nice things about this Treasury demonstration was members of Congress showed up also. And I
Yeah.
think you're starting to see they're thinking through, they're getting organized, they're figuring out what their plans are. They're pointing towards 2026. We absolutely have to win back at least the House in 2026. So that's their mission. But I think you're going to see more and more congressional activity as the days, weeks, and months go by. And we're already seeing them showing up at all these protests. That's terrific.
That's vitally important. In the big picture, how concerning is it to you that Trump's DOJ dropped the charges against Eric Adams after you made some kind of deal with Donald Trump?
So corrupt. Donald Trump has fired the inspectors general who watch him for fraud, waste, and abuse. He wants to run wild. He fired the head of the Office of Special Counsel, where whistleblowers are supposed to go. He fired the head illegally, by the way. He has no right to
Right.
fire those inspector generals without 30-day notice and a reason to Congress. He has no right to fire the head of whistleblower protection. That's congressionally protected. Then he fired the head of the Office of Government Ethics because he doesn't want that ethics oversight. That's a fair inference, I think. So he's told, or his Justice Department has said, they're going to loosen enforcement of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. That's so sending a message, hey, American business people, bribe, you're free to bribe. And then, there's this Eric Adams case. Why is that case not being prosecuted? It's a righteous case, pardoning Blagojevich. So it's that same spirit of embracing crime and corruption and conflicts. There's nothing he likes better, except for maybe his fellow dictators.
That's part of it. So a lot, and I'm saying with Norm Eisen, chair of State Democracy Defenders Fund, who's out there litigating some of the cases that are getting a lot of press that they're winning. Just so people understand, the last thing, Norm, what will happen from a legal point of view? I just saw a short time ago, U.S. Court of Appeals, First Circuit, did not overturn the stay on the lower court, the budget freeze. Trump's people tried to. When will this get its way up to the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court for actual hearing on the merits?
Well, the timetable is murky. The cases have been moving with lightning speed. All of these cases now, you get a TRO and then you have preliminary injunction briefing. And the courts do want to take the time. I think it's fine as long as everything is frozen. So take my FBI case, for example. There's that case is gonna take many weeks to be resolved. That's not going to be this week or next week, but that's okay because there's a stay. Same thing with my Treasury case, the first to keep Musk out of Treasury. So I think that there's now there's going to be a next wave of cases and a next wave. Democracy is reacting like the immunity system in the body politic. Democracy is reacting to Trump's flood the zone with democracy and rule of law, shock and awe.
And very last thing, what's your ex and JD Vance? And Alina Habba was just on Fox News saying the executive makes the ultimate decisions on the laws. I'm like, Richard Nixon, you're channeling the ghost of Richard Nixon here. This is kind of remarkable. If the president does it, it's got to be legal.
Yeah.
What's your reaction, JD Vance, saying that the executive should make the final decisions on these type of actions and interpreting executive action?
Well, it's wrong. I mean, I think that tweet that he put out over the weekend, he analogized, Dean. He says, look, the courts can't tell a general how to exercise his or her discretion. I don't think he said his or her.
Right. No,
on the battlefield, and neither can the courts tell the attorney general how to exercise her discretion in doing her job. But of course they can. Since Marbury Madison, it has been the prerogative of the courts to decide what the law is. The Department of Justice, the Attorney General, the United States, the President, the government have been frozen many times by the courts. And, it's a made-up nonsense. The one case that blocked the Attorney General in that way was my case. And then the next day, we got the order saying, no, she can't harm these FBI agents by releasing their names. And then the next day we got the JD Vance complaint and I got on that list. So together with my co-counsel, Mark Zaid, we were the only,
Good lawyer. You guys are good lawyers.
He's
I'll
a
tell
good
you
lawyer.
that.
We were the only international figures on that list. And I think it was in response to bitterness about losing all these cases, and we've done our fair share.
Well, it's kind of remarkable. I only went to Fordham Law School, and they taught us Marbury versus Madison. But I guess at Yale Law School, where J.D. Vance went, they didn't teach them that. It was all theory. They don't teach actual cases.
Oh, my God.
Just like
don't
do
get
finger
me
painting
started.
and something. So, all right, Norm. Thank you, my friend. Again, State Democracy Defenders Fund. Norm's a chair, and they're litigating the hell out of stuff, but they're stopping Trump all the way. You're gonna get deported, but you're doing the right thing. That's all that matters. Thanks, Norm.
Thanks, brother. I'll send you a postcard.
Please do.